Hi, folks. This is Glenn Zimmerman again, uh, talking about survival as far as just trying to get along. Not talking about the end of the world, but just from natural disasters and man made disasters. Today, we're going to be talking about food insurance. First, I want to say it's December 6th, 2020. We're still in that great 2020 Sunday afternoon. Uh, it's going to be dedicated and a shout out to all my grandkids. Tabitha and Zachary and Cassidy and Anthony and Grace and Benji, the youngest. This is for you, buddy. And there's some things in here I hope all of you pay attention to because sometimes your parents really don't listen. Not that I know everything, but I'll be bringing up some things that we've, over the years butted heads about a little bit. But we'll get into that a little bit later. We're going to talk about insurance. Just about everybody has got insurance. Now, if you own a car, you've got to have liability insurance in most states. I think probably all states. And if you have a car that's worth anything, or if the bank owns it and loans you money on it, you got to have comprehensive. So you've got two types of car insurance. And if you live in a house, you may have PMI or mortgage insurance, which in case you croak, the bank gets their money. That's what that's all about. Have insurance on your house as far as your structure. For you, in case it burns down, it gets paid off or repaired. Or the contents get burglarized, burned up, whatever. So you have contents insurance. And this is for whether you have a mortgage and own it or whether you're renting. You have renter's insurance that covers that. And a lot of people have flood insurance, which is an extra one that's on the side from regular house insurance. And that's in case you get flooded out. And you don't have to live next to a river in order to have flood insurance. Nowadays, it seems like you can get flooded just about anywhere. So a lot of people have flood insurance. Next insurance you have probably is life insurance. And that's to help take care of who's left behind once you meet your demise. For them to pay the bills and live and what have you. To protect your family upon your demise. The other biggie, which everybody keeps talking about, and politicians talk about, and do very little about, is health insurance. And, we've got all kinds of health insurance, kind that you pay for, just outright. Older folks like myself, we have Medicare. Some of us have Medicaid, and that we pay a premium that comes out of our Social Security or whatever to pay for it. Some of us have dental insurance and vision insurance in case we need glasses or in case we need to get a tooth fixed. Some of us have liability insurance in case somebody decides to sue you. They fall down on your sidewalk and sue you for $1 million. Or you get in an altercation and end up smacking them, taking out somebody's tooth or whatever. It's called liability insurance, so that for that reason, that cover you. Some people have burial insurance for when they get beaten their demise. I mean, you see the ad on TV and it says, well, Social Security pays when you're old. They pay, they send you $255. You can't even pay the guy that mows the grass over your grave for that much. So in the ad it says her insurance costs or her burial costs are like funeral costs $8,000. So they're selling burial insurance, and a lot of people have pet insurance. I don't know if you ever taken your pet to the vet, but that's not cheap. It's just like going to your doctor. Those bills are pretty expensive. So we have all kinds of insurance. Everybody's got insurance. You pay the premiums. You grumble about it, but you got to have it. But the one insurance that a lot of people don't have, you don't have survivor insurance. Well, what do I mean survivor insurance? Food, water. We talked in the last video, we talked about water. If you missed that one, you can catch up on that one. How we all should be stored up and have some water or a way to store some water. But today we're going to talk about food. Obviously, I like to eat, and I like to keep eating, even if there's a problem. For whatever reason, the economy, truckers strike, uh, who knows what. This pandemic that's going around right now, people are panic buying. Uh, can't get toilet paper. You can't get this. You can't get that. At least that was in the first round. I don't know how it's going right now. The store I shop at primarily seems to have most everything and they have good supplies of it. But if the problem comes up to where you can't just run to the store and get food, where, for example, we talked about losing electricity. You lose electricity, most stores are probably going to be closed, or they're going to have to deal with cash, and most of them aren't set up to do that. Most cashiers can't hardly count back the change when the machine tells them how much to give you. And no reflection on those, but it just happens sometimes. We all have some problems at times, kind of getting things figured out, and especially in these days when we don't use addition and subtraction and all that very much, at least not in the market. Uh, so there's a lot of reasons that food may be short, where you may not be able to go get it. I think down in California they're talking about a stay-at-home order. Uh, Supposedly they'll be able to go out and get food, but for whatever reason, things come. You have disasters, natural disasters, and all of a sudden, the stores are wiped out. The roads are messed up. You can't get there from here. Uh, you could have a food shortage. Well, what do you want to do about that? We have all these other insurances, but we don't have food insurance. A food insurance, in my definition, is that you have a supply of enough food to take you through for a few days, weeks, maybe even a couple, 3 months. I don't know exactly what it is, but it seems like the FEMA, they used to recommend 72 hours, and then it went up to several days. And I think the last I heard, some of it's being recommended that you have a 6 month supply in case you get shut in or something happens, but enough to get you by for 6 months. That's a lot of food. That's a lot of food. Now, most of us can't run out and just, take a few $1,000s and go buy cases of this and cases of that and start stockpiling it. And everybody said, well, now if you do that, you're hoarding. Now, hoarding, if you look up what the definition of hoarding is, a hoarder is someone, and you watch it on TV, they save everything. They don't throw away the newspapers, the magazines. A lot of times they don't throw away their garbage. A lot of times, whatever it is, they just keep it. They keep go out and get more and keep it. Uh, Someone who's prepping or preparing to survive or to get by in the future takes and only stockpiles things that they need, things to get by, food. Okay, so what kind of food? Uh, Best kind of food is stockpile is, or get a surplus of and keep it, is what you eat. Don't buy stuff that you don't eat. You read some of these shows, and they're talking about, they're going to get 50 pounds of wheat and a grinder, and they're going to grind up the wheat to make flour. Give me a break. Probably ain't going to happen. And even if they do, once they ground it up, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to, most people, not most, a lot of people don't cook these days, and especially from scratch, where you take all the ingredients and make something. Instead, it's something that's in a box, it's in a pouch, you dump it in, you heat it up, you add some water, whatever, and there you go, you're done. I like brownies. I love brownies. And I buy a brownie mix. It says add an egg, add some oil, add some water, stir it up, put it in a pan, bake it for a while, boom, instant. There you go. Brownies. Tastes good too. I always add some walnuts, crushed up walnuts in it. Anyhow, it's getting off the subject. And obviously, I like food and I like brownies and that. All you have to do is take a look at me. I represent those remarks. How do you stockpile or how do you build up a supply where you have enough food for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month or even more? You buy it a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. And on this same thing, something that's always that bugs me, and like I say, some of my kids and I have went round and round a little bit about, and I'll touch on that subject right now. And that's on dates, on canned goods, or on whatever, on food, the dates. Now, I'm reading here from the U.S. Department of Agriculture Food and Safety Inspection Service Guide. It says USDA estimates that 30% of the food supply is lost or wasted at the retail and consumer levels. One source of food waste arises from consumers or retailers throwing away wholesome food because of confusion about the meaning of dates displayed on the label. To reduce the consumer confusion and wasted food, Food and Safety recommends that food manufacturing retailers apply a code dating use a best if used by date. Research shows that this phrase conveys to consumers that the product will be best quality if used by the date shown. Foods not exhibiting signs of spoilage should be wholesome and may be sold, purchased, and donated beyond the label best if used by date. It says here, with an exception of baby infant formula, and they talk about that. If the date passes during home storage, your product should be safe and wholesome if handled properly until the time spoilage is evident. Spoiled foods will develop an off odor, flavor, or texture due to naturally occurring spoilage bacteria. If a food has developed such spoilage characteristics, it should not be eaten. Okay, common sense. I grew up where my grandparents, so I was 11, and every year we canned. They canned and canned and canned. In a way, you tell something when you went down to the cellar and you got something to fix for a meal, and you come back up with the can, you take it and you tap on the lid, and if it goes clunk, 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 the lid moves, no good. Air's got in there, and so is bacteria. But if you take it and you tap it, and it just goes, it's still good. Open it up. Again, look at the texture, see if the color's changed, the odor, maybe taste it. If it's that and it's past the date, go ahead and use it. It says microorganisms such as mold, yeast, and bacteria can multiply and cause food to spoil. Viruses are not capable of growing in food and do not cause spoilage. There are two types of bacteria that can be found on food. Pathogenic bacteria, which causes foodborne illness, and spoilage bacteria, which do not cause illness, but do cause foods to deteriorate and develop unpleasant characteristics, such as an undesirable taste or an odor, making the food not wholesome. When spoilage bacteria have nutrients, food, moisture, time, and favorable conditions, these conditions will allow the bacteria to grow rapidly and affect the quality of the food. Food spoilage can occur much faster if food is not stored or handled properly. A change in the color of meat or poultry is not an indication of spoilage. I've had this go around with, like I say, my daughters, and I think all of them come around now, pretty much. But the dates, I can remember one. I came home and stuff in the fridge was going with this. I said, "Where's the mustard?" Or the date. I said, "What do you mean the date?" Yeah, the date. Okay, I've got a mustard here, and it says 06/02/2021. Okay, that's a best buy, best use. I'll tell you what, I've had mustard in my refrigerator at times for years, and I used it, and it was just fine. Mustard, for me, mustard does not go bad, but that's just me. I just read you what the government's telling you, and you can always believe what the government tells you. Uh, Best buy dates are just an indication. And a lot of it is for the retailer, the food people who make that food, to kind of convince you to get rid of it and go buy more, is what it boils down to. My suggestion is, in this time when the economy's not looking good, talking about a deep, dark winter and all these other phrases, you can take that for what it's worth. But I have some food in the garage that the dates are long past. They're going to stay there. When I go to rotate through and I go to eat them, I'll open up the can or whatever if it's not messed up. If it doesn't, don't. Uh, I'll check it. If it smells good, it looks good, has a taste to it, I'll eat it. I'll give you an example of that. It's this Dutch ham. Some people say, "Oh, wow." I'll tell you what. You make a sandwich out of it. You take and you chunk it up, put it in with some eggs, scrambled eggs. It's not bad at all. Now, this can doesn't. It has some numbers on it, but it doesn't have a date. It says 8026 1334 3540. So it has no expiration date on it. I've looked over this thing with a fine tooth comb. I had one of these that the wife had marked. She took a felt tip marker and she marked on it years ago when it was in another garage we had where we lived. The date on it was 9/25/13. About 2 weeks ago, I pulled the top, smelled it. I mean, the top was still good. It was still intact. I took it out, took a couple tastes of it, tasted fine. I made a couple sandwiches out of it. I used it with some scrambled eggs and ate it, and it was good. This thing was dated 2013. It's over 7 years ago. Over 7 years ago, and it was still good. But what I would say is, if you have food that has a date, it's past that date, don't just throw it away. Keep it as part of your food supply. As you rotate through the food, use it, open it up, check it out. If it's still good, go ahead. I'm talking about me, okay? I'm not making a recommendation to you because I'm not a doctor. I'm not part of the FDA. I'm not anything. I read you what the FDA said, and I'm just saying, hey, go ahead. I would recommend, for me, and that I recommend I go ahead and eat it. I've got a can here that's still good. It's out in the garage. I just went out and checked. It says Best Buy, November 28th, 2017. It's traditional pasta sauce. When I make some spaghetti, I'll open it up, smell it, taste it, check it out. If it's still good, I'll use it. If not, I'll throw it away. Now, different things have different dates. Here's a can of green beans. This one's dated 2055. Wow. Wait a minute, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Down here it is. Best Buy, December 2022. There we go. You got to read these things. Got different numbers on them, and you think, oh, okay, that's the date. Well, no, the date was down here, Best Buy. So it's good for a couple of years, according to them. It's probably good for a lot longer than that. This can of evaporated milk, Best Buy, September 22, 2024. That's pretty nice. And we got some original recipe Italian homemade pasta sauce. The date on it, they say you got to really look hard. Okay, there it is. Best Buy 2022. But there you go. Got all this food. I recommend that you, in order to build up your supply, simply buy an extra can. You go to the store and you need a can, you're baking something, you need a can of evaporated milk, get an extra one. Green beans, whatever it is, just get an extra one. Every time you go to the store, pick up one or two of something else, of something extra. I've got 4 shelves in there full of stuff that just by going every time I pick up 1 or 2 little items. And all of a sudden I've got a stockpile. And that's a good thing. You know, you don't have to run out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy stuff right away. Now, if you're interested in long term, there's a lot of things out there that you can take and you can buy. You can go through Amazon. You can go to some of these other suppliers. Like here's one. It's Granny's home-style potato soup in a pouch. Uh, 4 servings per container. Half a cup is a serving size. Four servings there. Okay. It's a long term. You can buy individual pouches. You can go into the store, into the sporting goods section, and you'll find these freeze dried things, pouches for hiking and camping. Buy 1 or 2 of those. Those things are good for years and years and years. There's another one. And you can get this one. You see this online all the time. It's got several pouches. It's 72 hours food survival food kit. Long-term shelf life. Back there, I've got, you can get it in a bucket. There's a 2-week food supply. It says up to 25-year shelf life. And then you can get a big, they got another one they've been advertising. It's a container and it's got like 4 weeks or a month worth of food in there for 2 people or something. So you can get them in all different sizes. So if you're interested in the long-term stuff, that's good to have also. Obviously, you don't have to be rotating that through very often. 25 years. Let's see now. That would make me 99. I imagine if I don't open it, it'll still be here when I'm long gone. But my kids can use it. There's a lot out there that you can do as far as food. All right. And I know everybody says, well, or not everybody, but a lot of people say, that's a bunch of hooey. We've never had a problem before. We're probably not going to have a problem in the future. So, I just go to the store when I need it. I'll tell you what, just let the power go out. And you're not going to the store because everything's electronic. Everything needs power. And you won't be getting it. Where I live, we're in the earthquake region. They're talking about the Cascadia zone, the subduction zone. And they're talking about when that one pops, it's going to be up a 9.2 or 9 power mega earthquake. And everything on this side of I-5, in their documentaries and stuff says is going to be toast. And I live on the wrong side of I-5. I live on the west side of I-5, between I-5 and the coast. And so I'm in the wrong place, according to them. And when your infrastructure goes down, the roads, gas lines, pipelines, electrical wires, everything, even if you can get something at the store, it's not coming being replenished. So it's a good thing to have a reserve. It just makes sense. I mean, you don't mind buying all this insurance that I just went over. You have insurance for everything imaginable. But what about food insurance? How about having food and water? Take care of yourself. Don't depend on the government. As Ronald Reagan said, the worst word you can hear is, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. Well, what you're going to hear is they're not going to be here. The government's not going to be here in a lot of cases. Okay? We've seen that in a lot of other disasters. A lot of places where, hurricanes, whatever, they don't just show up instantly. It may be days, it may be weeks. And so what I would say is just use a little common sense. Start stocking up on different foods. We won't get into storage per se, but there's ways that you can store things to make sure that they last a while. I mean, if you buy bags of flour, wheat, whatever, and you're probably going to use it in the next few months, instead of just leaving it set on a shelf where some rodents may get to it or something inadvertently punches a hole in it, you can always get buckets like this plastic bucket, or you can go to the store and just get 5-gallon buckets with a lid. Just set the whole bags in there. Shut the lid. Okay, rodents, animals, whatever thing is getting falling and bumping up against it are not going to punch a hole in the bags. And you've got it and you store it for a while. Okay? All I'm asking is you just use common sense. It's not just for us seniors, it's for everybody. All right? With that, I want to say again, dedicate this to my grandchildren, all 6 of them. Tabitha, Zachary, Cassidy, Anthony, Grace, And Benji, this is all for you guys. The expiration date thing, and stockpile a little bit of food. Okay. And when you're young, and whether young or not at this time, if you don't know how to cook, you really need to learn how to cook. Make some things from scratch, like bread or just whatever. Okay. Get you a cookbook and learn. Trial and error if you have to. But learn how to cook and take care of yourself. We need to be able to take care of ourselves. The one that we trust in, the one that I trust in, my King, Jesus Christ, is here for everybody. And regardless of what tribulation or trials we go through, whether it's the pandemic, whether it be a food shortage, whether it be the power's out, whatever it is, you can always rely on Jesus. If you don't know him as your personal Savior, I pray that you do. With that, I'll close out today, and I hope gave some insight to people. Please leave a comment. Hit a like button down there. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I plan on continuing these different basic survival techniques and whatever in the future. With that, we'll say good night.